Super Mario RPG is the remake of the 27-year-old Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars for the SNES. But you already knew that. Besides losing its awesome subtitle, how does this compare to the original? Well, before writing this review, I saw most media outlets' reviews of it read like a checklist of comparisons between the SNES original and the Switch remake. While I have played through the original version twice, I think a lot of you guys are playing Mario RPG for the first time, so I'd like to approach this review from the perspective of someone who's playing it for the first time, and judge it on its own merits, and not just how it compares to the old one. So, if you're a Geno for Smash fan excited to play his game for the first time, then this is the review for you. Near the end of the video, I'll talk a little bit about how it compares to the SNES original, as well as if it was truly worth remaking Super Mario RPG all these years later. But this video will primarily focus on how this full-priced Switch game stands on its own. Having said that, is this game worth picking up? After all, it is yet another Mario game on the Switch. Another installment in the post-movie Mario takeover, releasing only a month after the last Mario game, and only a week after the final Mario Kart DLC. In this comprehensive review, I'll go over the highs and lows of Super Mario RPG, and by the end you'll know if it's worth playing. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. On a routine trip to rescue Princess Peach from Bowser, Bowser's castle is suddenly pierced by a giant sword from the sky, opening a portal to another dimension. Through it comes the Smithy Gang, baddies in the shape of weapons like bows, spears, and axes, hell-bent on taking over the Mushroom Kingdom. Smithy's sudden appearance has also splintered the Star Road, where wishes are granted in the skies above, meaning Mario has to team up with Peach, Bowser, and original characters Geno and Mallow to collect the 7 fallen stars to reform the Star Road and put a stop to Smithy once and for all. And this premise delivers on the promise of what you'd expect from a game titled Super Mario RPG. It deftly fuses the easygoing sensibilities of the Mario franchise with JRPG tropes you might find in something like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. And yet, it's never overblown or leans too far into the dramatic. This game is excellently written. As simple of a story as it is, it's populated with memorable characters whose dialogue is charming, endearing, and oftentimes downright hilarious. It absolutely nails the tone they were going for and never comes off as cringe. And speaking of the characters, what a thrill it is to play a Mario game with unconventional NPCs. Rather than generic toads populating the world, we have toads with actual names, with unique outfits and patterns on their heads. There's also a Yoshi with sunglasses, overweight Koopa paratroopers, and a host of original enemies that can be found only in this game. This is Mario unshackled from corporately mandated brand identity, and it's nice reveling in this world that's unlike any other. I'll talk more about Mallow and Geno at the end, but first I want to talk about the gameplay. So, how does it play? The battles in this game are simply outstanding. While it is a turn-based RPG, a genre I know not everyone loves, it incorporates enough action elements into battles to win over those who hate having to wait for their turn. This is through the use of an action command. If you tap A at just the right moment as your attack lands, you'll deal extra damage to your targeted enemy, as well as overflow damage to surrounding enemies. Similarly, if you tap A as your enemy is attacking, you can block, reducing or negating damage. This ensures you're always engaged with battle, not just planning your moves, but keeping up with the action. And using this action command has an added incentive: triple moves. Do it enough times and you'll get the gauge on the left to 100%, letting you use a super move. Depending on which characters you have on screen, you are allowed only 3 at a time, you'll get a different move. These range from attacking all enemies, powerfully attacking one enemy, 100% healing, or temporary invincibility. And thankfully, you can switch party members besides Mario mid-battle without losing a turn or wasting your gauge, so you can always select the attacks you want, and changing your party constantly keeps things fresh. And what a joy these triple moves are. Each one has a short, beautifully animated pre-rendered cutscene. My favorite is the Clown Car Barrage. Mario, Mallow, and Bowser rain fireballs, lightning bolts, and cannon fire from above. It's hilarious, charming, and wacky as hell, and is a perfect marriage of gameplay with the tonal sensibilities of the narrative. However, battles themselves are not entirely that difficult. You can play through the story without level grinding, and once you get the hang of timing your action commands, you won't encounter that much challenge. Occasionally a boss will knock you out, but it's a simple matter of changing your equipment or stocking up on items to get past them. Still, the bosses are a great part of the game, and they still do test what you've learned. There is an easy mode and a normal mode, and I played on normal, which for me was still too easy. For a game literally titled Super Mario RPG, you can't go in expecting to be challenged too much, but I still would have liked the option for a more challenging experience. Difficulty aside, it is still a joy to blast through battles, and owing to their simple nature, you can get through them efficiently, meaning you can get back to the adventure adventure without too much downtime. Faring less well than battles is the exploration of the overworld. Mario RPG preserves the original's isometric perspective to both its benefit and its detriment. This means the world is a series of box-shaped zones with a fixed camera perspective. This has its own offbeat charm, with Mario and friends squashed into more chibi-style proportions, which is cute as hell. Visually, it's an adjustment to get used to initially, but it gives the game a distinct look unlike any other. While preserving the look is fine, sadly, Nintendo and developer Arte Piazza made the disappointing decision to preserve directional movement locked to 8 directions. Mario can walk in 8 directions only, and not as freely as he can in something as, say, Mario Odyssey. This makes his movement feel off in a fully realized 3D world, especially in the few moments he's expected to jump on platforms. There are some instances that homage Mario's platform game roots with tricky jumps over gaps, but these are often frustrating when you fall down because of imprecise movement, coupled with the isometric perspective which lends itself easily to ground-based movement, but just does not work when it comes to tricky aerial movement. This visual style does not give you much depth perception, so aerial platforming would never be perfect, but freeform movement would certainly help mitigate this. And if you've never played the original, this will come off as a very awkward control scheme. It's not a big deal as these issues appear infrequently, but not improving Mario's controls feels like a missed opportunity. The total adventure comes in at about 12 to 15 hours, but there are plenty of secrets to seek out along the way. There's also some mini-games, but these are far from compelling experiences. One of them sees Mario careening down a waterfall, and another has you controlling a minecart in 3D. These are entirely inconsequential and just minor distractions to break up the adventure. I didn't feel compelled to go back and play them to beat my times, and they are truly nothing special. Overall, the story and gameplay of Mario RPG are a treat for Mario fans and fans of traditional JRPGs. While neither story nor gameplay add anything particularly new, the charming presentation and near-perfect execution combine to create one of the most satisfying adventures of 2023. Now, this is the part where I'll compare it to the SNES version. First, Geno and Mallow. What a thrill it is to see these two guys front and center of a new game, a whopping 27 years after their last appearance in the original. I love their character models and they are wonderfully animated, with Mallow's pudgy body jiggling around and Geno's expressive eyes making up for his wooden body. It feels illegal to see them in a game again, considering the rights debacle over them between Square Enix and Nintendo. Geno was one of the most requested fighters for Super Smash Bros., and this was even acknowledged with a Mii Fighter costume. Despite the hype fans have for them, this is the first time in almost 3 decades we've seen them, and they have been blown up and realized in 3D with loving care, looking better than ever before, and I'm sure these will win over new fans and satisfy old fans like me. I think going forward, it's time to see more of them in the Mario series, with any rights issues put to bed. I didn't think Geno was ever relevant enough for Super Smash Bros., but after playing Mario RPG Remake, I am not only Geno for Smash, but also Geno and Mallow for Smash, as well as Geno and Mallow for Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Strikers, and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Why not even fold them into the Paper Mario universe? These characters deserve to make the jump into the mainstream, and I really hope we'll see more of them. These one-off RPG or Mario spin-off characters usually don't get much respect, and they are normally forgotten about after one game. Look at all those Paper Mario party members Nintendo forgot about. But considering their near 30-year legacy, the love the fans have for them, and how fantastically they're realized in this game, it's time they are given the respect by Nintendo that they're owed. Sadly, as good as it is to see them again, they are let down by being awkwardly silent, as are Mario and Peach in this game. In my Sonic Superstars review, I talked about how the lack of voice acting was disappointing, and the same is applicable here. In this aspect, Mario RPG is too faithful of a remake. While all dialogue is conveyed by text here, which is fine, just a woohoo or a here we go here and there would go a long way in giving more life to these characters. Bizarrely, Bowser and Yoshi use vocal samples occasionally, but other characters don't, and this extends to Geno and Mallow. In Mallow's introduction scene, he gets a beautifully animated pre-rendered cutscene with his dialogue written in text at the bottom of the screen and his mouth awkwardly flapping with no sound coming out. And it's the same with Geno too. It feels awkward and incomplete, comparable to the awkwardly silent Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The question is why? I wanted to know what Geno and Mallow sound like after all these years. I wanted to know what creative decisions Nintendo would come to vocalize these iconic characters. Are they silent because they wanted to remain faithful to the original, where voices were not possible given the SNES hardware? Or is it because they don't want to upset fans, coming up with voices that fans don't accept? Whatever the case may be, in my opinion, it's disappointing. I have enough faith in the creative team that they could come up with appropriate voices, and if we are to see Geno and Mallow follow again, vocalizing them is inevitable. Well, that's just how I feel about it. So if you agree or disagree on this point, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Anyway, the second major change is the reorchestrated soundtrack. The original soundtrack on the SNES is one of the best soundtracks on the system, and was composed by the queen of video game music and one of my favorite composers, Yoko Shimomura. And she makes a return appearance here, reorchestrating her original compositions, breathing new life into what I already considered a masterpiece. Fully orchestrated and pairing perfectly with whatever action or environments are on screen, it's one of the best soundtracks of the year. And the third major change is post-game content. Don't worry, there are no spoilers here. Added to the post-game are boss rematches, which gives you incentive to keep playing, leveling up your heroes more, and truly putting your skills to the test. Even though there's no hard mode, these boss rematches were incredibly fun for a sucker for punishment like me, as they did pose some real challenge. The secret brand new final boss is a real treat, especially for returnees. Make sure you work hard enough to get to that point. And on the topic of post-game, I would have liked to have seen a brand new side story. Nintendo has done this a lot with re-releases during the Switch generation, like the Future Connected side story in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, or Bowser's Fury in Mario 3D World. A bit more extra post-game content would have been nice, as those super boss rematches don't add all that much that's new, but it's not a big deal. And now, for my final thoughts. Well guys, if this review hasn't convinced you, I don't know what will. Super Mario RPG is a near-perfect remake of the SNES original. While it's a fun adventure that's not too complicated, you cannot escape the fact, for better and for worse, that it is a faithful remake. While it's a remake of a game that was already near-perfect, whether you think this remake is good value or not, depends on what you value most. Faith to the source material, or the opportunity for developers to take something old and turn it into something new. For me it's the former, but I think there is such a thing as being too faithful. While new quality of life enhancements, the triple move gauge, and post-game super bosses are nice, considering the almost 30-year gap in technology, I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more done to Super Mario RPG that was not possible back in 1996. This includes better movement for Mario, improved minigames, and the inclusion of voice work. This remake is built on a solid foundation that doesn't need much changed, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more innovation built on top. But in the end, these gripes are minor. Super Mario RPG was well worth revisiting all these years later, and was one of the best experiences I've had on the Switch this year. And if you've not played the original, this remake can easily stand on its own. It's not just another Mario game, but a hilarious, charming, and satisfying RPG unlike any other. So, thanks for watching until the end. How about you guys? Have you played Super Mario RPG? What did you think? And which do you think is more important in a remake? Tradition or innovation? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. Man, after playing this, I really hope we get Super Mario RPG 2, and this becomes the basis of Mario's RPG side going forward. Considering that the Mario and Luigi series is pretty much dead, and we don't really know what's going on with Paper Mario, I would love to see another adventure like this that brings back Gino and Mallow, and hopefully incorporates Luigi too. Anyway, if you enjoyed this review and would like to see more, don't forget to subscribe. So guys, I will see you next time.